pair of clubs who have played each other 22 times on Labor Day weekend. All-time points total, head-to-head, it's tied 459 to 459. No ties tonight as we kick off your Labor Day weekend right here in Hamilton. Marshall Ferguson alongside Wayne Ford. Matthew Shinetti is at field level throughout the evening for us. And we get a matchup tonight of a couple of quarterbacks trying to make a name for themselves here in this East Division race. And as we know, hotly contested, a lot of people talking about where the standings are, but Nick Arbuckle certainly looked the part last week in Edmonton.
Yeah, he did, and obviously an Ottawa team that needed to make a change as they look to try and get things going. Nick Arbuckle, playing against one of his former teams, comes up with the victory. Well, for I guess another of his former teams. His first as an Ottawa Red Black. And of course, Trevor Harris. Trevor came up with single-game season highs in terms of both passing yardage and touchdowns in the Alouettes walk-off victory against Hamilton in their last outing.
Danny Machocha on the sidelines. Their 3-3 record this season, as you see, back-to-back wins, of course, as Montreal tries to heat up. And there's Paul Lapalisse. He's rocking a different hat here this evening, but trying to get his team going after that victory on the road. They won both of their games this season on the road as we are underway from Montreal with Chandler Worthy back to return from the 25, a short kickoff, and he returns it all the way out to the 40-yard line as Trevor Harris steps onto the field here with a 2-game winning streak and playing the hero in the final minute against Hamilton just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, terrific drive by the veteran quarterback to set the Alouettes up for a David Cote walk-off field goal to win that one. See Trevor's numbers on the season. Usual high completion percentage that has kind of been his calling card throughout his career.
As Harris settles into the gun with the 5 wide set here. As quickly looking to the air, has to come off his first read to his second, rolls out to his right. We don't see this much from Harris, and he's got lots of running room. Across the 55, reaches it out down to the 42-yard line and immediately across midfield for a gain of 26 on first down using the legs.
Yeah, and I love this play from Trevor Harris. We've mentioned it a couple times this year. This is something we talked to him about early in the season, was that this is how he spent his offseason in terms of training as a veteran guy to try and get better. One of the things he wanted to improve on was his speed and his running ability, and he definitely makes use of it there. Looks off that defense to the left, season opening, turns it into a big play to kick this one off.
The blood flowing early for the veteran quarterback as he hands it off inside, and a tackle for loss immediately in the backfield that time is wrapped up and brought down is Fletcher by Lorenzo Malden. We get a look at your starting Alouettes offense, brought to you by Expedia.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Sean Jamieson at center, Winnipeg native in there. Certainly have his hands full seeing Cleon Lang and Davon Coleman this evening. Hergy Mayala over 100 yards when these two teams met previously this season, and a touchdown in that ball game, looking to duplicate that performance here tonight.
2 straight games for Mayala with a catch of 30 yards or more in the air. They go 4 receivers to the left with Harris. That's where he looks. Again, has to dance around. And the front 4 of the Ottawa Redblacks on back-to-back plays influencing, and I give credit to the front 4, Dwayne, but it might just be Lorenzo Malden getting into the backfield on back-to-back plays.
Well, never a surprise to see Lorenzo Malden in the opposing offensive backfield. Montreal, as you see, did a pretty good job of picking up what ended up being a twist there, but Malden just able to redirect and get to the Owls quarterback.
It's a 2-man return back, Devontae Dedman and Ryan Davis. They'll kick it to Davis as he takes it at his own 8-yard line. And he knifes forward for a gain of about 5 on the return as Devontae Dedman. Nobody wants to kick to him. Last week, Edmonton had no interest. And we begin here in Montreal with them kicking away from him as well. Nick Arbuckle, 1 start, 1 win for the Redblacks. He's on the field when we return. Matchups for you between now and Monday evening as Nick Arbuckle goes to work looking to throw on first down. Pumps, takes a shot over the top. It's a double move. Jalen Ackland makes the grab at the 42. And he's wrapped up and brought down by Durden on the boundary corner, but a big shot play over the top. The rare successful deep shot for Nick Arbuckle this season.
And very fortunate, as you see Ackland lined up, solo receiver that you see out on that side, as man came free off the edge. That in a situation where you need time for that double move play to develop. It was a nice job by Nick Arbuckle to sort of pull the ball down, dodge that first blitzing defender. I think there was a bust in the blitz pickup in the Ottawa backfield.
It's a gain of 35. It opens up the running game for them here on first down. Nice chunk play that time from the Red Blacks in their backfield, as it'll be number 31, Devontae Williams, getting his third straight start.
A good burst there from Devontae Williams. Nice job by the offensive line to open things up for him.
Jalen Ackland seems to think that the Ottawa Red Blacks have some fans in attendance here tonight. They were tailgating before, asking them to make some noise and have some fun, as Williams on second down and short gets stacked up. Looks like he was trying to lunge his way forward. He'll need the 53-yard line, and I don't think that he got it, but Caleb Evans quickly comes off the sideline here with the short yardage team.
And you obviously don't want to overstate anything, but a big play for Ottawa here out of the gate in terms of getting some momentum going. A couple of nice plays to start this one off offensively for them.
Ottawa is 8 of 12 in third and shorts so far on the season. Make that 9 of 13 as Caleb Evans plunges his way forward, the former starter, as we get a look at the Red Blacks starting offense here with a variety of weapons coming to life and being available at different depths and targets.
Yeah, as we take a quick look at this offensive line, Randy Richards makes that start at left tackle. Cambry Williams on the injured list this week. Ryan Davis, the guy they're still looking to get going. They've had 100-yard games out of 3 of those starting receivers this year, with Nate Bahar joining the group last week. Davis and Shaq Johnson, the 2 guys waiting to join the club.
No touchdowns yet for Ryan Davis either. He lines up in the slot to the top of your screen. They tighten down the formation as Arbuckle goes quick. Ball is tipped at the line of scrimmage, and it's knocked down as walking forward and saying hello is Mike Moore, playing off that defensive end spot vacated by the traded to Edmonton, Avery Ellis.
Yeah, and obviously the performance of Mike Moore as you see him at that defensive end spot, a guy who started the year the inside at tackle. That's where he's played most of his position, but good production from Moore working off the edge, allowing the team to make that swap with Edmonton, bringing in a little more depth, and Thomas Costigan and Nafis Lyon.
They're both on the one-game injured list, so not in here tonight. The completion goes to Ryan Davis right on time. Dwayne, as you mentioned him, for the first down on second and long, and a nice step up that time from Arbuckle.
Yeah, Arbuckle, despite the bouncing around that he's experienced in his career over the last couple of years, looks like he's playing with confidence. You know, he demonstrated that last week, and certainly off to a strong poised start here today, as he's seen a little bit of pressure in the pocket, but delivering some quality throws despite that.
Gain of 13 on second and 10. Show run this time. Arbuckle keeps it, flips it out to the sideline, and it is complete to Ryan Davis. Flag is down as well, so they'll sort that out. And Noel Thorpe saying, "Yeah, that's okay. We'll take that penalty against them." That looks like that's going the other direction here. Tries to negotiate right in front of the sideline with the officials. As Andre Proulx is our lead official here this evening in Montreal.
Hors-jeu, offside, Ottawa. Numéro 15, number 15, 5-yard penalty, 5 verges, premier repris.
The timing a little bit off for Ryan Davis on this one. He's the inside receiver as they go quads to the field that time. Maybe a little excited knowing the ball was coming his way. You saw him about a yard behind that Montreal defensive line when the ball was snapped.
Arbuckle, quick slant underneath, looking for Darvin Adams that time. Can't haul it in on his 67th target of the year for the big man previously of Winnipeg, as we get a look at this Montreal defense that's starting to take shape and come to life.
Yeah, and on that defensive line, we'll keep an eye on big Mike Wakefield playing on the interior, former Ottawa Red Black. Micah Awe at middle linebacker spent some time with Ottawa as well, CFL veteran. Newcomer Raheem Wilson, the former Calgary Stampeder, plugs in at halfback this week as that secondary continues to take shape.
2nd and 15 after the offside penalty. Threw them back. 5 receivers to the left of Arbuckle. He bounces off an arm tackle. Looks to run. Cuts it back. And he'll pick up the first down with his legs to move the sticks in his 2nd start. And you mentioned it, Dwayne, the success he's had. He's only had 7 wins. They've come for 3 different teams: Calgary, Toronto, and now Ottawa.
Yeah, and doing whatever it takes here. A nice job by Arbuckle, as we mentioned with Trevor Harris. Not necessarily a guy who's known as a runner, demonstrating a little bit of elusiveness in the open field to keep this drive going for Ottawa.
10th play of the drive here is the first quarter nearly half done on a long possession after a quick stop for the Montreal offense on their first touch. It was a run of 17 for Nick Arbuckle, his longest of the season. Stands in against pressure here, completes it underneath, diving forward. Inside the 20-yard line go the Red Blacks once again as they'll get close to the first down marker. Decided to do. They will signal first down on the field as Arbuckle had to dive and get out of the way on that one, completed to Anthony Gosselin.
I love this one from Nick Arbuckle. It's the classic chucking and ducking as that defensive line is closing in on him. The ball is barely out of his hands before he's got to get down to avoid taking a big shot from Mike Moore.
Montreal defensive line that had a lot of success pressuring Zach Collaros as they upset the Bombers a couple weeks ago, getting after it here early on. Arbuckle fakes, flips it underneath this time. It goes to Nate Bahar as he knifes his way forward for the gain of a couple.
And Nate Bahar coming off his first career 100-yard game last week in the win over Edmonton, the team that drafted him. Former first-round pick, in fact, of the green and gold franchise. Nice quick hitter off play action. You heard Matt Dunnigan talk a little bit about the nickel and dime game of Nick Arbuckle, and perfect example there as they're trying to blend that play action stuff in with the run.
Ocean Davis and Williams out to the field side here. 5-by-1. They go to the 1. And it was Jalen Acklin working on the backside, but everybody in blue was leaning that way. Acklin's got to talk his way out of 3 or 4 defenders circling him.
You're going to see heat coming from the left side of the offensive line here. Off the edge, right in the face, as Arbuckle's looking to try to hit Jalen Acklin. Quick slant coming off the left side. Pressure. Marshall, as you know, is going to impact the quarterback's accuracy as he's in a hurry to get that one out, and just sails a little bit high on him.
Talking it over with quarterback coach Will Arndt on the sideline as Lewis Ward comes out. 22 of 28 on the year, and 19 of 20 from this depth inside 40 as he chops this one through. And the early lead for the visitors here to kick off Labor Day weekend as Trevor Harris gets his 2nd opportunity of the football game to take what's suddenly becoming an Alouettes Dwayne Ford when Trevor Harris had his best performance of the season with a season-high 382 yards and 3 touchdowns to go with it.
Yeah, and Trevor particularly sharp down the stretch. Late touchdown pass to Reggie White to take a lead. Hamilton comes back, grabs that lead, and then finally the game-winning drive setting up the field goal by David Cote.
Got a little shovel pass underneath. And Gino Lewis, a different look, a different way to get him the football as he has his 93rd target of the year. Yes, that's not a mistake. 93 times they have found that man wearing 87. He picks up a gain of 17 that time for the first down.
Yeah, a pretty good guy to lean on. You can see Gino Lewis coming into the picture left side of your screen, motioning for what is essentially a shovel pass to Lewis. You know that Ottawa's going to have a game plan to try and limit what he does, so you better find different ways that they're not prepared for to get the ball into his hands.
Absolutely. As you see for the first time here, Jesuan Antwi bouncing off some tacklers and knifing his way forward as the Ottawa defense finally wraps him up with Alonzo Adai coming down for free safety, and here is that Ottawa defense.
We take a look. Lorenzo Malden, you know, looking like maybe the best free agent signing of the offseason, or the best untalked about free agent signing of the offseason, continuing to lead the league in sacks. Patrick Levels making his return to Montreal, as is Money Hunter, who should see a fair bit of Eugene Lewis on the boundary side tonight. Big matchup as money has suggested it's going to be a quiet night for Gino.
Yeah, he said he won't be having much success as Dominic Davis comes in, and if you're a Red Blacks fan, you are tired of seeing the big, long, lanky frame of number 4 in Alouettes blue, as the last time they played, he had himself a night in short yardage sneaks over and over and over again.
Don Davis coming back to haunt one of his former teams.
Get a look at Gino Lewis again, setting up, breaking the huddle all by himself at the bottom of the screen. 15 of 24 on targets of 20 yards or more for Trevor Harris when he's trying to find 87. This time they go inside handoff, but stutter step through the hole goes Antwi and inside the 30-yard line, and it'll be a gain of about 13 yards on first down as Antwi has the legs going early here.
Yeah, a nice bit of patience here from the University of Calgary product, as you're going to see. Charges up towards the line, things are stuffed up a little bit, just delays, stutter step, waits for the picture to clear, turns that into a nice first down run.
Has the most carries on the year for Montreal by a country mile. Of course, the unfortunate injury to William Stanback early in the year, just 3 carries before he was injured. Antwi's got now 72 on the season, and Fletcher checks into the backfield here at 25 coming into tonight. So Antwi has really been the workhorse for them, as Harris will flip it out this time to Fletcher in the flats, blocking down the field, and they wrap him up after a gain of 5.
Yeah, getting that bubble look with a bit of a jump start here for the running back. Fletcher moving to his left, trying to outflank the defense before the ball is thrown. Pretty good pursuit there from the interior. Never a surprise to see number 42 Avery Williams in on the tackle.
And this time the rare 2-back snap breaking the huddle is Antwi and Fletcher on the football field as Anthony Calvillo mixes and matches his personnel on 2nd down and 5. Harris looking to get it out quick, batted up in the air, and down it goes, and there's number 94 once again. You can hear him at field level. Lorenzo Malden is active in this first quarter.
And Malden just continuing to make the most of the opportunity that he's received here in Ottawa. One of a number of guys essentially coming over with new GM Sean Burke from the Hamilton organization. Rotational guy there, special teamer. And this is a guy who was a 3rd-round pick in the National Football League and certainly saw playing time down there, just ran into injury issues that limited him and led him to come north, and now once again getting an opportunity to demonstrate what he can do.
League leader in sacks, but that's his first knockdown of the year, and it forces David Cote to come out and knock one through the uprights. He does, as we are knotted up at 3 with just a couple minutes remaining here in this first quarter, as these two teams feeling each other out to kick off week number 13 in the CFL, as Jalen Acklin looking to get back on track. Last tough people do, but patient people in an organization important as well. Down to the sidelines with more, Matthew Shinetti.
You know, Dwayne, you didn't mention that Sean Burke came from the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the one thing that Sean Burke has had as he's developed from a personnel person into a general manager now, his first general manager job with the Ottawa REDBLACKS, is patience. He had that, amongst other things, with the Hamilton Tiger Cats organization, and a month in, when the REDBLACKS were winless, he pulled the team together and said, listen, we're not going to be parachuting a different team here. This is our team. This is football. And we're going to get through this. And I spoke to Sean Burke before the game about that, and he kind of downplayed it and said, listen, Shinetti, this is just the way football is. This is how you have to operate. Of course, I want to show my guys that I have trust in them, and I trust the process. But you know what was really particular is when we spoke to Avery Williams yesterday, he saw it a little differently, Marshall and Dwayne. He said it was a really key moment for a team that was struggling early on, but needed a little bit of faith.
Good stuff, Matthew. Yeah, the patience at the start of the year. How many times at the beginning of this season we would finish calling a game in Ottawa with a home loss, walkdowns, and you would just see the shaking heads of Paul Applees and Sean Burke going, we're so close. Like, how do we not get this done? As Nick Arbuckle will hand it off on first down as the last Ottawa drive. 12 plays, 85 yards, took almost 7 minutes and finished with a Lewis Ward 19-yard field goal as they try to finish with 6 here.
You know, and as I hear that story about Sean Burke, I think back many years to my own playing career. Obviously, most of my time spent in Calgary playing for Wally Buono, and it was kind of an annual thing, and not that we struggled often in Calgary, but Wally, with a winning team, would kind of start every year by suggesting that we're going to win with the guys in this room. You know, that was kind of the week one speech. We're not looking to bring other people in during the year. It's this group that's going to get it done.
Powerful as you see the throw to Darvin Adams, incomplete. Mike Jones there in coverage as former Bomber that time, Raheem Wilson, as well acquired after being let go by Calgary. Right there on the spot, reaching in, and flags do come up.
Defense. Interférence dans la zone de la passe. Montréal, numéro 16. Defensive pass interference. Montreal, number 16. Automatic first down. Premier essai automatique.
They will get Wilson, the former Stampeder.
We get a close-up look at the matchup between he and Darvin Adams. Little tug, hands around the waist. Not heavy contact, but just a little too much.
Well, Arbuckle gets a fresh set of downs. There's some pressure on. He takes a shot deep over the top and goes back to that matchup as it's Adams against Wilson. And that one hung up just a little bit too much, it looked like, for Arbuckle's liking.
Well, they're going to talk about it a little bit. I think Darvin suggesting he'll be back. Working towards the corner here. This throw takes him outside. And you'll see tight coverage by Wilson as he gets hip pocket here. And Adams just kind of unable to get completely turned around in his adjustment to that ball.
A lot of people interested when, the challenge flag is out from the Ottawa sideline here in the first quarter with 24 seconds left. Paul LaPolice deciding that he wants to go back-to-back here against Raheem Wilson. Got the first call organically. This one he's going to ask for them to take a second look.
Ottawa conteste la décision d'une passe incomplète et il pense qu'il y a eu une interférence. Ottawa is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass. They believe there was DPI. The play will be reviewed.
Well, look at the left hand of Wilson. Looks like it. Keep an eye on that left hand of the defender. It's going to touch the shoulder.
Is that enough? I mean, well, I'm just laughing because Adams really leaned backwards when that happened.
Yeah, I don't think that he, by any stretch, I don't think that he knocks him down. It's just a question of, is that going to be enough to draw the flag?
Well, the way that they define it is directly and materially affected the receiver's ability to play the football. Did that directly affect Darvin Adams' ability to play the football in the air? You can make the argument, yes. And if it is a successful challenge, it will be a big chunk of yardage going in favor of the REDBLACKS here on back-to-back defensive pass interference calls, as Paul LaPolice, you see 28% success rate. 2 of 2 this season on challenges regarding his defense. Does not have the perfect record of success with challenges around his attack.
Well, an early gamble, but Lapo taking a shot on what would be a big play if he were able to get this one overturned.
And Andre Proulx will have his decision from the command center. 2nd and 10, or REDBLACKS football deep in Montreal territory.
Après révision, le jugement rendu sur le terrain est maintenu. C'est une passe incomplète. Upon review by the command center, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass.
No translation needed. The universal applause from Montreal Alouettes fans told you everything you needed to know about that one. 2nd and 10 is the verdict.
Yeah, and I think the correct interpretation that really Darvin Adams' own momentum running downfield is what prevented him from being able to reach back for that ball.
Arbuckle back to work in the shotgun. Good protection around. Now that one's batted down as Sutton comes flying in on the blitz. And quickly the Montreal defense gets off the field here at the end of the first quarter.
Well, Wesley Sutton has become a dangerous man in this Montreal blitz package. Right at the bottom of your screen. Watch for number 37 coming off the edge, getting the hands up. Think back a couple of games versus Calgary when he turned in a couple of sacks. Coming from that halfback spot, having an impact.
Richie Leone sends this one away. Was booming kicks in the pregame warm-up. Chandler Worthy back to return and ends up slapping that one out of bounds as it popped out of his hands. And Ty Cranston right there on the spot. You see 33 in Ottawa red and white said, I'll be back a little bit later on. Back and forth first quarter here to kick off our OK Tire Labor Day weekend. Jalen Ackland with a deep ball. Arbuckle using the legs. A couple of field goals on the board. In their way here as we begin the second quarter, Dwayne, and an opportunity again in this game to be able to set the tone for what are going to be so many East versus East matchups moving in the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's kind of what you expect, right? Close battles, teams that are going to be fighting for playoff position. Nice to see with both of these teams out of the gate showing some flashes offensively. You think, especially from an Ottawa point of view, a team that has struggled in that regard a little bit, but definitely showing some signs of life here with Nick Arbuckle at the controls. And Trevor Harris, of course, the veteran, settling in as Montreal's starter this season.
Backed up in their own end. Montreal will go ahead, hand it off, and a nice bursting run that time by Walter Fletcher will carve out room immediately for the Alouettes attack. It'll be a gain of around 10, and it will move the sticks for a first down on first down.
Yeah, one of the things you want to concentrate all the time when you find yourself backed up in this tough field position. It may not be that 80, 90, 100-yard drive, but you want to make sure you get a couple of first downs, some positive plays, give yourselves a little bit of breathing room, and minimize the impact in the ongoing field position battle that is life in the CFL.
Harris again goes back inside run, another dashing run right through the tackles that time, crossing the 35, and it's Fletcher again on almost old Xerox, photocopy that thing, run it all over again.
Well, whether it's been Antwi or Fletcher in the backfield, Montreal doing a nice job running the football, and credit for that goes not just to the running backs, but obviously to that offensive line. Carving out some nice lanes for both of their backs. Had Trevor Harris chipping in with some rushing yards to open this one as well on a QB scramble.
Gain of 18 that time for Fletcher as they'll go back to the ground game. Nobody on the edge and a free run. It's Jezrin Antwi crossing midfield and hauled down just inside the 50. And all of a sudden, the Alouettes running attack, it doesn't matter if it's Fletcher, Antwi, this looks like William Stanback's in the backfield.
There's absolutely nothing deceptive about this run. You called it. Nobody takes care of the edge. Antwi never had to redirect. He's going straight outside on that one. Gets around the corner, turns on the jets to get the Montreal Alouettes over midfield.
Gain of 27 for Antwi, who holds the longest run of any player in the CFL this year at 70 yards out of the backfield. That was back week 1 against Calgary. Flags come up, likely offside against Montreal as it's Tyson Philpott inside the 10. But was Montreal off? No, it looks like they might actually go against the Ottawa REDBLACKS here as Tyson Philpott makes the big play down the seam.
Hors-jeu, Ottawa numéro 42, pénalité refusée, premier essai. Offside, Ottawa number 42, that penalty is declined, first down.
You're going to see the middle linebacker, Avery Williams, trying to time up the blitz here. There he is, middle linebacker mugged up in the line of scrimmage, well picked up by the left guard Gagnon. And Tyson Philpott with yet another big play on his resume here halfway through his rookie season.
Averaging over 15 yards per catch. That one goes for 37. Here's Harris in the gun. Flip it out to the flats. Trying to find Gino Lewis racing to the end zone. Touchdown, Alouettes. As Eugene Lewis with his 4th touchdown of the season.
Once again, for the Montreal Alouettes with Gino Lewis, you know Ottawa's going to be planning for him. So let's bring him from somewhere different. This time lined up right on the left edge of that formation. It's kind of a wing, comes behind the line, offensive line, hoping to lose coverage there. Just a quick dump to him as he works towards the flat. Mr. Lewis does the rest.
5 plays, over 100 yards, 101 to be exact, and just 234. And it leads to the Eugene Lewis touchdown into the end zone for Montreal. They ran that exact play earlier this year on the road against Hamilton. Carriel Brooks had to run all the way across for the Ticats. He made the play. That time Money Hunter could not. And the result is Gino Lewis in the end zone as Trevor Harris gets his 11th touchdown throw of 2022.
Inside out. A nice job with the play action fake to hold those defenders on the opposite side.
REDBLACKS thought about lateraling it back to Devontae Dedmon. Ryan Davis holds onto it himself and breaks out near the 40 with flags down as part of the return. Harris talks it over with Jake Winicky on the sidelines there. I'm starting to wonder if we're ever going to see Devontae Dedmon get a return. Is anybody going to give 17 an opportunity?
That's like being the most dangerous hitter in baseball. Right, everybody's going to pitch around you.
Retenu, Ottawa numéro 83. Moitié de la distance, premier essai. During the return, holding, Ottawa 83, 10-yard penalty, first down.
One goes against Tavon Smith, just his 3rd game on the roster as a national receiver. Former Edmonton Elk himself.
There you get a look. Zach Lindley, the former Western Mustang.
It's just an egregious use of the Western Mustang ISO cam.
Well, I got to tell you, this is one that I got to get in because Zach's dad, Mike, was one of my former teammates, and I know if I don't talk about it, I'll hear about it from Zach's mom, Trinette, if we don't talk about Zach on
Everybody
teams.
clear out. Clear out. I mean, he has made a ton of plays on special teams.
Oh, he sure has.
10 special teams tackles after being an 8th round pick this past year.
Yeah, great find. A guy who played the nickel linebacker position during his time at Western. Listed as a backup safety here, but one of those hidden gems in the 2022 CFL draft. Started the season on the impressed enough to get an opportunity and making the most of it.
Wouldn't be on special teams unless you're checking your mouth to see if there's any blood after making a play. As a gain of 9 leads to Caleb Evans in short yardage. On 2nd and 1, flags come up from the backfield. This actually wasn't down the line of scrimmage. You can see Mike Jones saying, where'd that one come from? Perhaps too many men on the field.
Trop de joueurs sur le terrain contre Montréal, diverge de pénalité. Premier essai Ottawa. Too many players on the field. Montreal, this is a 10-yard penalty and a first down.
Substitution packages maybe not so smooth in short yardage that time, Dwayne.
Yeah, even at mid-season, sometimes some challenges. You see the frustration for Alouettes head coach Danny Machocha. It's one thing to give up 10 yards on a play, but he hates to give them away that easily.
Arbuckle loads it up after faking the run and gets it out smoothly on rhythm that time. That's the most in control that Jalen Ackland and Nick Arbuckle have been together as they're finding chemistry in game here over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, the always animated Jalen Acklin lined up out wide here. Simple thing, but just kind of the footwork of Jalen Acklin, you know, combined with, you know, a little hip movement, little shoulder movement to really sell those changes of direction on his route to create some nice separation.
2 catches, already over 50 yards receiving, as this time Arbuckle has to get rid of it quickly. And it will be a big tackle flying in to bring him down. That's number 45, Kenneth Durden, in the backfield that time, as Arbuckle had nowhere to go. It'll be a loss of about 5.
Yeah, this nice recognition by Durden. We've talked a little bit about Montreal's use of Gino Lewis getting the ball in some different places. Well, here's the exact same idea with Jalen Acklin. And I think Kenneth Durden's just going, yeah, we do this with our guy in practice all the time. I've seen this play. And he is all over it.
His name is Kenneth Durden, and he's been making plays all over the field in his short time in Montreal, as Arbuckle steps up again, crossing route, looks underneath, and it is complete to Jalen Acklin, and tackled by another former Hamilton Tiger Cat, Tyrese Beverett, who's been making a lot of plays on special teams so far throughout the year. 10 special teams tackles, and he tacks on another on defense here to reach 30 on the season.
And here you see Acklin trying to work underneath Beverett. As soon as he saw that motion, you could see he kind of took an angle to take away that receiver.
Leone gets set to send this one away as we near the midway point of the second quarter. Slight breeze into his face. It'll hang up a little bit. And it does drop down, and Chandler Worthy at his own 15 trying to get to the edge, and that is tough pickings against Bob Dice's special teams unit. A punt of 49. Great coverage from the Red Blacks special teams unit as Beverett all over Acklin. Montreal Friday Night Football trivia. What was the biggest comeback in Friday Night Football history? Trevor Harris standing in the gun. He's ready to roll for the Alouettes, and the football is out. It's loose. Devon Coleman picks it up. It's a gift, and the Red Blacks are in the end zone.
Well, we saw Trevor Harris turn on the Jets earlier in this ball game to escape the Ottawa rush, but this time not able to accelerate away from that backside pursuit. Tripped up, that ball pops out, was out. If that was out on the way down, but no indication as yet of any sort of challenge. Presumably scoring play would be reviewed regardless, but Devon Coleman, you know, when you're a big guy, you're happy that you only have to return that about 5 yards.
It's true, yeah. If that was 58, that might have been a different story with somebody tracking him down, but Coleman lunges into the end zone, and there's so many plays this year that have not gone Ottawa's way. There's got to be Red Blacks fans out there watching here tonight and saying, finally, we got one. We got a play that gets in our advantage. Very reminiscent of the Nick Arbuckle fumble on his own at home a couple weeks ago. This time Harris loses the handle. 9 all over it. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Red Blacks.
I mentioned Kenny Onyeka.
And full credit to him. I think Coleman was the one that really made the, like, we should focus
no, but we're going to talk Carlton. Shout out to my guy Corey Grant in his head coaching debut for the Ravens. He got a win against who?
The Marauders.
Yes, your alma mater, the McMaster Marauders. Big OUA Week 1 matchup. Good to see U Sports football back into full swing.
Tanner DeYoung back out at quarterback for the Carleton Ravens, and Andreas Dueck as well. A couple of East-West Bowl participants from this past spring. As we get the answer to trivia, I got a feeling I'm going to take a stab at this one. VA got traded this week out of Montreal. Montreal at Winnipeg, 20-point comeback in the fourth. Oh, it goes back further. It's the legend, Ottawa Renegades, Kerry Joseph.
Wow. How about that? 39-36 in double OT. KJ.
Trevor Harris gets the quick slant out underneath. Reggie White makes the grab, and that'll move the Sticks on first down. Speaking of Kerry Joseph, did not know he was going to come up in the discussion here tonight. Trevor Harris, as of right now, entered the game tonight 362 yards shy of Renegades legend KJ for 19th all-time in CFL passing yardage. That's the next one he'll take down. Harris pursuit. Joseph continues on 1st and 10. From his own 46, they go back to the running game. Works so well in that last drive. And again, churning the legs forward is Fletcher for a gain of about 6 on the play, as he crosses 30 yards on the evening.
Yeah, Montreal continuing. Do a nice job getting those running backs involved. Wear down that Ottawa D-line a little bit.
Probably no better way to reassert yourself after the strange turnover and score by the Red Blacks a minute ago. Set up with 2nd and 4. Harris looking over the top. That's not going to work. Abdul Kana's going to pick it off, as the Red Blacks go back-to-back possessions, creating a turnover here, and Trevor Harris shakes his head, walking to the sideline and not being able to connect with Reggie White on the corner route.
Just an overthrow here by Trevor Harris. Abdul Kana, with this one coming right at him, is able to back off and get to it. You know, Trevor's got time there, not rushed on the throw, but just sailed on him a little bit. Kenna enjoying a nice second go-round here with the Red Blacks. Nice veteran presence in that secondary, comes up with the INT.
First interception of the season. As you see Harris trying to sort it out. Red Blacks defense celebrating down in the end zone, but then the offense is all the way back at their own 31-yard line here for Nick Arbuckle at the controls after 1 start and 1 win. They're going to go back-to-back here as the Red Blacks leading man.
Yeah, and big opportunity here in Ottawa for Nick Arbuckle. Obviously an opportunity he thought would come a couple of years ago. Quite frankly, going into free agency, dealt by Calgary to Ottawa, where he was expected to be the Red Blacks starting quarterback in 2020. That season washed out by the pandemic. With a shortened training camp, shortened season in 21, Ottawa elected to go in a different direction, opening with Matt Nichols.
And the first touch of the ball game goes here to Devontae Dedmon, who does get his hands on the football, not on special teams, as they decide not to go to him, but Paul Lapley's trying to find ways to get 17 involved and keep him interested in his return to the Red Blacks.
Yeah, this is exactly it, right? You control what you can control.
Yep.
And in the kicking game, you can't control necessarily whether or not he gets the football. On offense, you can, quite frankly. So a guy who's proven to be one of the most dangerous players in the Canadian Football League, let's get him on offense so we can get him the ball.
That's his 3rd catch over the last 6 quarters back in Ottawa colors, as Leone sends an absolute spiraling beauty down to the 15, gets a big roll, and it'll go into the end zone here for Chandler Worthy. And Frankie Griffin will stand on the outside, and they'll give up the single. As Leone got too good of a bounce on that one from what he would have liked, but it does add to the point tally.
And Trevor Harris, after a couple of quick turnovers, looking to bounce back here. Get this train back on the rails.
Jedron Antwi stands in the backfield with him here.
Yeah, and wouldn't be surprised to see them lean on the run game a little bit here.
Check at the line of scrimmage as we roll towards the 3-minute warning in week 13. They show run, now flip it out. Tyson Philpott makes Patrick Levels miss, can't get away from Matt Buchanan, who just had the interception flying in to make the tackle, but the quickness of Tyson Philpott on full display in small spots.
Yeah, still just spotting him in, as you see. You know, a handful of plays that they want to make sure they put the ball in 81's hands. But you will see his role continue to grow, I'm sure, as this season unfolds.
3-minute warning here in Montreal. REDBLACKS lead by 1.
Halftime planned as we kick off Labor Day weekend. We're going to be chatting the Owls run game, Ottawa's defense, knockdowns, but the big news is Davis Sanchez is back for halftime. He feels better. He's going to carry the team, right, Chezzy?
Let's go!
More encouragement.
Feels better, kid. I thought he was great in the pregame. The house that Chezzy built right here in Montreal is Trevor Harris in the gun on 2nd and 5. Steps to his left, spying him as Avery Williams throws it back across his body, incomplete. Intended for Jezrin Antwi and not able to get enough on it, but certainly giving the special treatment to number 7 that time was Avery Williams.
Well, you think about the opening series, and Trevor Harris had that long run where he broke contain. I suspect that there may have been a reminder from defensive coordinator Mike Benavides on the sidelines after that. We got to contain him. We don't think of him as a runner, but we got to contain him. And so it was Kenny Onyeka a couple plays ago tracking him down from the backside. That time Avery Williams making sure he had that outside leverage to make the play on Harris and force a tough throw back across his body.
This time just a single returner back. It is Dedmon as Zima leans into it, sends it away, and they'll kick this one towards the corner after an 86-yard punt by Richie Leone. Devontae Dedmon says, I'll pick this thing up just to get my hands on it at this point, regardless of the situation or how deep in my own end I am. 67 yards the punt from Zima that time.
Yeah, perfect placement there from Zima with the REDBLACKS closing in on him a little bit. Great placement and a very fortuitous role for the Alouettes punter.
Dedmon in plenty of conversation here throughout the evening. You can feel the frustration for him. He's got all this bottled up ability, and he just wants to touch the football so he can make a play to help his team, but it's leading to a lot of conversation when he doesn't get his hands on the rock.
And no question that amongst the Montreal Alouettes, there's been lots of conversation about containing this guy. I mean, it was here in Montreal that Devontae Dedmon burst onto the scene with a couple of huge returns and to kind of launch his Canadian Football League career a couple seasons back.
Bring on the NFL. The 2022 season kicks off with Thursday night football as my Buffalo Bills take on the reigning Super Bowl champions from LA, the Rams. Action begins at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on TSN and CTV, Canada's home for the NFL.
Super Bowl preview?
It's just terrifying as a lifelong Bills Mafia member. There's this thing called expectations that have now been placed on it. Every time I open Twitter, I see Josh Allen favored to win the MVP. The Bills favorites for the Super Bowl. I'm like,
you want your team to fly under the radar.
Just so used to going to Bills games down there in Western New York and buying scalper tickets for $7 when they're playing the Jets in December, and they've been out of the playoff race for months. Little different now, but certainly lots of fun. And we've got the opener for you against the LA Rams. That should be a fun one. If Aaron Donald keeps his helmet on. That's make sure that happens to kick things off. As Nick Arbuckle with 2:27 to work, backed up deep in his own end after the exceptional punt by Zima. Devontae Williams in the backfield with him. He'll throw, working against the uprights, throws an absolute arrow underneath the uprights out to the 18-yard line, and Darvin Adams hauls it in.
Yeah, it looks like a simple thing, but you'll see as this ball is coming towards you. Nice adjustment by Darvin Adams at the last second to kind of twist his body back to the outside to snag that football for a REDBLACKS first down. Give them a little bit of breathing room after that tremendous Jonathan Zima punt.
Such a tough throw. The uprights right there to that field side. As Arbuckle made it, and this time rolls to his right, trying to get away from Nick Usher, floats it out to the sidelines. It was intended for Shaq Johnson. He can't haul it in, as was looking for his first catch of the ball game after Darvin Adams just had his first grab of the night.
Yeah, Shaq Johnson, a guy who began his university football career right here at Molson Stadium on the home of McGill University football program. Shaq was the U Sports Rookie of the Year back in 2012.
Not long ago. It does not feel like 2012 that he was freshman of the year, but standout player. BC making his way in free agency, targeted by the Red Blacks, and now Arbuckle looking over the middle and tackling. Catching at the 38, breaks a tackle across midfield, trying to run away. It'll be brought down and pushed out of bounds by a host of Alouettes, but not until Ottawa gets a big explosive play all the way down inside the 25-yard line, and the friendly mocking of the Gino Lewis celebration. 64 big ones for number 23.
Yeah, and you got to love Jalen Acklin. I mean, this is a guy who just shows up to compete week after week. The battler comes up with a big play here for his Ottawa Redblacks.
5 catches, 114 yards as it stands right now for Jalen Acklin. Since the 144-yard game that he had back in July, he's been averaging just 39 yards per game over their last 3. Already over 100 here as Arbuckle dumps it off underneath. Goes to Devontae Williams, cuts it back. Couldn't get the blocks that he needed as he gets stacked up. The gain of just a couple is flying in as Micah Awe, the middle linebacker.
Yeah, just you mentioned the numbers for Jalen Acklin, an absolute monster for a stretch there. 3 consecutive 100-yard games, but then, you know, maybe teams paying a little bit more attention to him or whatever the case may be. His next 3 never above 50 yards. But getting things back on track tonight, as you just saw, his 5th 100-plus yard game of the season.
As the former Elks defensive coordinator calls in the Elks alignment here on 2nd down and 6. Flipping it out to the wide side. It's Devontae Williams getting pushed out inside the 5, but another completion for Nick Arbuckle as he continues to push towards 200 yards in this first half. It's a gain of 20 that time. And down inside the 5 is Arbuckle, still looking for his first passing touchdown as an Ottawa Red Black.
Yes, sir. Well, he looks like he's on his way, and in all honesty, I mean, this is about as confident as I have seen Nick Arbuckle look.
No doubt.
As a CFL quarterback, and I mean, even going back to his time in Calgary.
Arbuckle looks to the right, rolls away from the pressure of Beverett, throws it back, shoulder into the end zone. The first touchdown pass of Nick Arbuckle as the Ottawa Red Blacks quarterback. 967 days after originally being traded to Ottawa, he got a chance to start. A week later, he gets into the end zone with his first touchdown pass, which Paul LaPolice wanted so badly for him last week and just couldn't get it.
And not just a big moment for Nick Arbuckle, but maybe a moment of redemption for Darvin Adams, playing against the Montreal Alouettes. Fans will recall Adams had a big game, 100-plus yards last time these teams met, but I think the thing that Adams himself may remember most about that game was a drop on an opportunity to score. Potential game-winning touchdown down the stretch.
Lewis Ward knocks it through. Arbuckle and the offense celebrate as Darvin Adams into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the season. And now Nick Arbuckle sits just 184 passing touchdowns behind Russ Jackson for the all-time franchise record. One at a time.
The chase is on.
But he's only 184 back of the legend Russ Jackson.
So keep an eye out wide here on Darvin Adams. Watch him as his quarterback starts to scramble, as Arbuckle gets flushed. Out of the pocket, drop back, rolls right. Adams originally on an inside route, sees his quarterback rolling right, he moves right. The defender, Mike Jones, just loses him for a second there. as he makes that slide back to the right to help out his quarterback. Arbuckle doing a great job with the defensive line in pursuit, keeping his eyes downfield to spot Adams in the back of the end zone.
And you talked about the confidence. Look at him even on the bench right now. Like, when was the last time that you saw Nick Arbuckle telling everybody, hey, here's what the coverage was.
Yeah.
Like, here's what we got. Here's why we ran what we did. Like, he really feels as though he's comfortable on that 6-play, 105-yard drive. Took just 1:24. Big completion to Ackland and a touchdown strike to Darvin Adams. And it has an 8-point advantage here as we go inside the final minute of the first half. The Ottawa REDBLACKS in the lead.
Take a look back at that drive engineered by Nick Arbuckle. Started with that connection to Darvin Adams to get out from underneath their own goalpost. The big play, of course, that strike to Jalen Ackland, getting them into Montreal territory. Devontae Williams in the flat, and then finally off the scramble, Arbuckle to Adams in the back of the end zone for the major.
You're right, that's eerily similar to the drop he had against Montreal earlier this year. Harris under pressure, squirts through a small hole but can't get away. It'll go down as a sack. And the last 3 possessions for Montreal, the fumble leading to the touchdown for Devon Coleman, an interception and a punt, and this one begins with a sack, so it's all bad news right now for the Alouettes attack.
Lorenzo Malden is just relentless. He gets to Trevor Harris again. Malden coming from the top of the line this time. Bull rush, that second move, right? Redirect on the spin back.
Let's go quickly with the clock rolling. Didn't burn a timeout. They go underneath. It's completed. And it goes to Keon Julian Grant. And that will be a punt. So the 4th straight possession here with little to no production. And Ottawa will get it back. And again, if you're Paul LaPolice, you're saying to yourself, like, I'd love to get 17 a touch here at the end of the half.
Yeah, I suspect the thing that Danny Machocha's special teams coordinator Byron Archambault and Jonathan Zima will all do their best to avoid. REDBLACKS go with 2 returners. Ryan Davis deep. As teams try to kick away, you want to make sure that the ball doesn't get a chance to hit the ground. Kick away from Dedman.
Nice spiraling kick, drops down. And it does go to Dedman. They might have flipped him that time. Said, oh, you want to kick away? Well, why don't we switch it last second? I mean, it's a great strategy, right? If teams are going to start kicking away, either switch them late, try to confuse who's actually standing where. Anything you can do to try and get that man with the football in his hands is a good idea. REDBLACKS will come out and presumably kneel this one down and head to half as you see Kate Milk, Chezzy, Matt Dunnigan ready back at control to break it all down for you and continue teeing up all things Labor Day weekend.
Well, it's nice to know that Chez is finally realizing you can't make the club in the tub. You have to get off the injured list, get back to work.
Most important ability is availability. He is back and ready to take a look at this one. As Kate and the panel, lots to talk about from an entertaining first half between these East Division rivals to start. Ottawa up over Montreal in a single-score game, but trying to fight their way back in. Maybe the ground game will help. Jezrin Antwies down at field level with Matthew Shinetti.
Jezrin, so much success early on with the run game. How do you reestablish that in the second half?
We just got to keep playing football, you know. Our O-line's doing a great job of blocking for us. OC's doing a great job of calling run plays. So we just have to keep blocking it up, and we just got to keep trusting our eyes, and we got to keep running.
When you're attacking a defensive line like this, is it more about trying to find the edge or just hitting him head on?
A little bit bit of both, you know, just being patient, trusting your eyes, reading your keys, and then once you find the hole, just hit it full speed. Thanks, Joshua. Thanks, Matt.
Playoff atmosphere there at halftime.
Yeah, there you go.
The horn is alive and well, to the great excitement of everyone listening at home. Opening kickoff of the second half, and this one will dribble out of bounds. That's one way to keep it away from 17, but that's not going to help field position.
Botté d'envoi à l'extérieur des limites. Premier essai, Ottawa.
I mean, chalk that one up as you look at the opening field position as the impact of Devontae Dedmon.
No doubt, as we get a look at Nick Arbuckle and his first half, going 13 of 19 for 187 yards and a touchdown, his first in a Red Blacks uniform.
Yeah, pretty good start to his second start as an Ottawa Red Black. Real solid first half. Nick Arbuckle looked very poised, very confident, accurate in delivering the football, spreading it around to his entire receiving corps.
Completed 9 of his last 10 passes to end the first half, including the strike to Jalen Acklin over the middle. Such a beautiful throw as they begin from the 50. Go with the running attack. Devontae Williams picks up a gain of about 8 or 9 yards on first down all the way across the 55.
Yeah, Williams doing a nice job. He continues to get some action in this Ottawa backfield. Been replacing William Powell back there over the last few weeks.
Last week had 12 carries for 58 yards. That's his 6th carry, right on track here to open up the second half. They'll go back to him for a 7th carry. Bounces off the first tackler, can't get away from the second or the third as Darius Pickett is there to wrap him up and finish off.
Yeah, it looked like Nick Usher was the first man in the backfield to sort of disrupt that one, as I think the bounce for Williams on that one may have been to get outside to the left, but he was put in a pretty tough decision as he had to make that decision a little bit earlier in the run than you typically want to as a running back, as Usher managed to crash his way into the Ottawa backfield.
Chandler Worthy goes back to return from Richie Leone here. The Montreal leader in combined yardage, over 1,000 yards on this season so far for Chandler Worthy after coming in late. That one drops right into the punting net. That's Leone's punting net. He was zeroed in on that thing over there.
Homing device on that ball.
Go home, ball. Go home.
But that's going to be a flag as it goes out of bounds in the air.
De dégagement illégal. Ottawa numéro 13. Diverge de pénalité de l'endroit où le ballon est sorti. Premier essai. Illegal punt out of bounds. Ottawa number 13. 10-yard penalty enforced from where the ball went out of bounds and a first down.
The Ottawa sideline knew it too. There's Lewis Ward going, Richie, I'm trying to get working over here.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm using the net. But again, back to back, you see, see what happens when you have some dangerous returners that nobody wants to give them a chance to return the ball.
Nerves from the right feet to kick off this second half. Needs a decent field position for both clubs. Ottawa couldn't do much with it. Montreal gets their opportunity, and will be a run inside for Fletcher as we get a look at Trevor Harris in the first half. 7 of 10, 90 yards, and had that interception to Abdul Kana.
Yeah, and I thought Trevor started the first half well, but just had that little spell towards the end of the half with some struggles, I'd say, that began. That fumble returned by Davon Coleman for a touchdown. The next possession they came out, he had the overthrow picked off by Abdul Kana. Trevor Harris is a veteran guy. Look for him to get this thing back on the rails here.
Oh, it's intercepted. Goes the other way immediately. It's Anthony Tejada cutting it back. And down just outside the 5-yard line, you were saying.
As I was saying.
His second interception of the ball game. As you just saw some of the struggles in the first, this one came out hot. Just off the hands of Gino Lewis. Tejada ready and waiting.
Going to kind of bend in. Problem is the throw's going to go out. Lewis unable to redirect to get to this one. Essentially the other receivers clearing out. Look at the 3 defenders right there to jump on that one. Tejada, the man who comes up with it off the fingers of the Alouettes receiver deep into Montreal territory.
Nick Arbuckle pumps, looking over the top. Darvin Adams into the end zone, knocked away. Mike Jones fought over the top. The only chance Montreal had to prevent more points on the board immediately, and Jones got the job done.
Yeah, this is a great defensive play by Mike Jones. This battle of 2 former Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he and Darvin Adams, no doubt seeing a little bit of each other in practice. You know, and you watch the replay, it almost looks like this one hits Darvin Adams in the elbow, but nonetheless, Jones getting a hand in there to disrupt regardless.
Motion Ryan Davis over to the right-hand side. That's where Arbuckle is looking on the out route. Low and away, intended for Davis. Marc-Antoine Duquois, the free safety, right there covering down. 3 interceptions on the year. Reacted quickly, so after the interception by Trevor Harris, the defense able to limit the damage.
And here you'll see the free safety, Duquois, as athletic a player as you're going to find in the Canadian Football League. He's the man narrowing the window there, forcing that sort of low and away throw from Nick Arbuckle. Tight window, he's not quite able to connect. That'll bring out Lewis Ward.
Ward looks to tack on some more points for Ottawa. Don't want to finish with 3 when you got momentum and an early turnover like that. Montreal making life difficult on themselves right now. Still leaving the door just a little bit open. An 11-point lead for the Redblacks, up over the Alouettes on OK Tire Labor Day weekend here on the CFL on TSN, as Trevor Harris, after throwing his 2nd interception of the ball game, Anthony Tejada will begin from the 40-yard line of the Alouettes. This one completed underneath. That goes to Jake Winicky, the first target, first catch of the ball game for number 9.
Yeah, not quite the 2022 season thus far that was anticipated for Jake Winicky, coming off his success of his first 2 years in the Canadian Football League. Certainly a guy they'd like to see break out.
Regis Sibasu, big body, former Montreal Caravan, checks in. They'll swing it the opposite direction. Tyson Philpott in the open field, gets the edge. Philpott down the sideline, pushed out of bounds at the 41. And once again, the quick screen package to 81, giving life to this Alouettes offense.
And, you know, I would like to see the stats on how many offensive snaps Tyson Philpott plays, and what percentage of those does he actually get the football. Because there's a pretty good bet that when he checks in, that they're getting him in the game for a reason, and he just keeps on delivering, keeps on producing, despite the fact that there is not a real element of surprise.
On the field here, goes cross ball as Harris loads it up, looks over the top on a skinny post and can't find Reggie White Jr. Incomplete.
Well, that skinny post made even skinnier by 2 defenders converging around the intended receiver. White's going to line up as the number 2 receiver here. Heads towards that post, as you mentioned. You'll see Kenna there. He gets help coming from the other side from Webb. Not a whole lot of room to work there.
Creates 2nd down and 10. 5 receivers out. They're trying to set up the screen. Trying to go backside. Trying to find 81. They do, and he just can't get away. But once again, Philpott on the field and gets another touch as he spins the ball away in frustration. But nice to see him, honestly, just back on the field. A couple weeks ago, took a hellacious hit in the Ticats game, went through concussion protocol, and back here making plays.
And you see Philpott starts off in the backfield. A little bit of a fight to get through the offensive lineman there. Then Trevor Harris having to work around a little bit to find a lane to deliver the football. It's pretty well defended that time by the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
So the last 5 possessions for Montreal: fumble leading to an Ottawa touchdown, interception, punt, interception, and now a 44-yard field goal attempt. It's good as the Alouettes narrow the lead. 3 turnovers, 11 points off turnovers for the Ottawa offense.
CSN feature producer Matt Dorman has spent time with the Arbuckle family at around 2020, and we told Nick's story about his late mother, Michelle, who Aaliyah Michelle is named after. But through this itinerant journey that Nick Arbuckle has had, he's always pointed to his wife and his daughter. When he's been couch surfing, waiting for his furniture, it's always been connecting with his family. And I spoke to Zakia before the game, and she said, "We love Ottawa. We're so happy to be back, but this whole journey has really been a blessing." Zakia's getting into acting. Nick feels more grounded back in Ottawa. And with Aaliyah Michelle, who is a social media star, the family is together and feeling happy, guys.
It is a beautiful young family, and they are so excited to finally have their feet grounded somewhere where they can try and find normalcy after the craziness of the last couple of years, as Nick Usher flies into the backfield and gets himself a tackle for loss and a celebration. But talking to Nick Arbuckle this week, man, does he ever feel thankful to be surrounded by people that believe in him right now and that want to see him have success.
Well, and a pretty good situation for him to land in here in Ottawa. To be traded during the season, you don't get a chance to go through training camp, but has this unique situation of finding himself with a team where he has been through learning this offense before and spent a lot of time at it.
As the throw comes out from Arbuckle, winning the one-on-one battle down the field is Jalen Acklin, as Durden is making the case there that perhaps that was a push-off by number 23. If it holds, Jalen Acklin is going to be reaching up towards 140 yards receiving on the night, getting close to his season high of 144.
And you see Durden picking himself up off the turf there in behind Jalen Acklin right away, suggesting that there was a push-off by the Ottawa receiver here. We'll have a look. You know, and I don't think it's anything above and beyond the usual sort of hand fighting, release moves, whatever, of a route in that instance.
We let that challenge flag go. That almost hit the hash. We squeezed those things in. That came flying out of the hand of Danny Machocha to get the attention of Andre Proulx.
Montréal conteste la décision d'une passe complétée. Il pense qu'il y a eu une interférence offensive. Le jeu va être révisé. Montreal's challenging the ruling on the field. They believe there was offensive pass interference on the play. The play will be reviewed.
So keep an eye on the wide receiver Acklin near the bottom of the screen. One-on-one matchup. The corner, Kenneth Durden. Definitely some contact here. That all-24 look. It certainly, it looked like he ran into him with a little bit more force than I had initially thought.
Wonder whether or not the extension. Banging shoulders, Dwayne, probably okay. Extension of the arm to get that extra little push.
Yeah.
Might put it over the top and send Ottawa backwards here. Tom Valesi, the replay official, back in the command center, will communicate with Andre Proulx, and they have reached a verdict here.
Après révision, la décision rendue sur le terrain est maintenue. Premier essai Ottawa. Upon review by the command center, the ruling on the field is upheld. First down, Ottawa.
A 3-yard gain for number 23. And they will say that it was not enough from Acklin extending that inside right arm to create separation. He and Durden go back to work against each other at the bottom of your screen. Arbuckle looking that way, fading left, throws it up high along the sideline, and Acklin goes to get it. That was very much a I have no other choice throw from Nick Arbuckle, and Acklin said, yeah, anytime, send it over here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a gutsy one, and watch kind of the double move here. And He kind of slow plays it here. Little stutter there. Here he's into a seam, but you've got Wesley Sutton coming over to help. Not a lot of space to work there, but Jalen Acklin, a rather acrobatic twirling grab along the sidelines.
New season high, 159 yards receiving by Jalen Acklin. Inside handoff this time, trying to run it behind Darius Scirocco and Jacob Ruby. Can't get much of a push against Mike Moore and Armando Sewell. Will create second down, but here is Acklin, updated, leading the Canadian Football League in receiving yards this season. And of course, Lewis right there. Dominique Rhymes not in action with the BC Lions this weekend, but both he and Lucky White had a sensational year. And Kenny Lawler dinged, unfortunately, after the crazy week he had against these Red Blacks just last Saturday.
So Jalen Acklin, I believe he started the evening in fourth, but putting the pressure on those other guys with a big performance here tonight.
What happens when you have 159 in one outing? This time sailing it up high and away. And you can tell, and this is actually really interesting, Dwayne, because it was Nick Arbuckle telling us this week that he's been trying to get on the same page with these guys in game, like literally in the game against Edmonton. He was feeling out, oh, that's how Nate Bahar runs a big route. Oh, okay, that's what Darwin likes to do when he comes back down to stem on a curl. You can feel Jalen Acklin and Nick Arbuckle feeling each other out in real time here. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, it is definitely a process, and it speaks not just to overall quarterback experience, game time in the CFL, but experience with a set group of receivers.
Lewis Ward will extend the lead, 24-13. The Red Blacks, as the ultimate race around the country, is back. Get into an all-new The Amazing Race Canada, Tuesday, 9/8 Central, only on CTV. Set your PVR. Trevor Harris, feels like we haven't seen him in a little while, as Nick Arbuckle, between the review, a couple of shot plays, great grabs by Jalen Acklin, and all of a sudden, this Montreal offense, 13 points on the board, trying to get back to the success they found in a 100-yard drive that they had in that first half, as Walter Fletcher gets the touch on first down for a nice gain of 6.
Yeah, the run game has been good for Montreal tonight, with still plenty of time to go in this football game. You know, so often you get down by a couple of scores and there becomes that automatic tendency to want to put the football in the air and try and get yardage in chunks, try and get points right away. But you've got lots of time in this ball game. There's no need to abandon a run game that's been productive.
Harris in the gun, hands it off once again, and right on through joint forward. They go back to the ground attack as Anthony Calvillo dialing it up with back-to-back carries of 6 yards.
I was a little nervous making any predictions of expectations, because we know how that ended up. Last time I expected that to be like an 80-yard bomb, as I'm calling for the run game.
Hey, shoot or shoot. Trevor Harris with Jezrin Antwi behind him. Harris 6-2 against Ottawa in his career since moving and playing against his old club, and they do go off tackle this time to Antwi. The Red Blacks slow to get up in the backfield, and they will whistle this one down, and the training staff comes out as Mike Benavides on the sideline had a nice chat with him before the game. He's talking about how he's just trying to get his guys to be able to, specifically at linebacker, figure out the big picture, how they want to play the game, trying to fight their way back in the East Division here as Benavides looks on and they tend to the injured Ottawa Red Black. We'll step away. Then making his way gingerly off the field as his wife and children in attendance tonight watching on nervously, excited to see him out on the field. As Dwayne Ford mentioned earlier in the game, one of the best free agency signings of this past February. Such a difference maker in this defense. You could see the concern on Mike Benavides' face as we went to break as well, as Trevor Harris is 2nd down and 6, looks underneath. There's Gino Lewis getting wrapped up from behind, but not until turning the legs into Ottawa territory, and another Alouettes first down.
And this is essentially just a check down. You're going to see Lewis appear over the middle, sits down. Defenders kind of start moving to the right as the quarterback maneuvers around the pocket, leaving Lewis all by his lonesome there.
You know, Lewis has 4 of the 500-yard receiving games so far this year for the Alouettes. Reggie White gets a touch here, going to the sidelines quickly. And glowing praise from Harris this week towards White, saying that he believes that he could be the next Gino Lewis, whether it's here or elsewhere around the league. He's got that kind of skill set.
Well, and this time they've got those 2 receivers working in tandem to the boundary side. Gino Lewis pushes deep. That's what clears a little bit of room for Reggie Lewis to work on the quick out on this one.
So White breaks the huddle, goes to the bottom of your screen alongside Mayala, and Winicky, the lone man to the top, is Gino Lewis. He'll cross face as the snap comes up. Harris checks it down to him and perfectly timed in the open field. There's the ex-Alouette, one of the most vocal Alouettes in recent years on that defense, Patrick Levels. Pocket smack going into the Eastern semifinal in Hamilton last year, and he flies in and reminds the Alouettes what he's all about.
And I'll tell you, I wasn't crazy about the overall look of this play, because essentially, you know, as you mentioned in their alignment, Gino Lewis was the lone receiver to the other side of the field. They bring him to this side, they're playing on half the field. The defense only has to defend one side of the field, and that's what puts Patrick Levels in a position to close so quickly on the play.
They go back to 3-by-2 on 2nd down and 12. Check down underneath Winicky. He hits a brick wall wearing 42 and Avery Williams. As we get word from Matthew Cheney at field level that it is the left shoulder that they are working on for Lorenzo Malden and the Montreal fans. 3rd down, about 1.5 yards, 2 yards to go. Out comes David Cote as they trail by 11 points.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a solid 2 yards here.
But Dominique Davis in positive territory. I mean, you don't have to go back far to remember how many times Dominique Davis has bowled his way over this Red Blacks defensive line. But Danny Machocha says not this time, and instead it's a 26-yarder. David Cote, and it will make it a 1-score football game once again with 1 minute remaining in the 3rd quarter. Formula One touches down in the Netherlands as drivers battle for another Grand Prix trophy. Racing a total of 72 laps, reigning champion Max Verstappen returns to his home track, Zandvoort, in an attempt to defend his title. Catch the action Sunday, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on TSN. Get a good chance to look over there at El Notre Dame, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I've always wanted to just go over there and just drive
around.
Yeah, just you know, throw it down into the hairpin. June in Montreal when Formula One is around is an experience. If you have never done it, make the trip, because it is different. Should be a great race coming up. Lots of orange in the crowd for Max Verstappen this weekend, you'd expect, as Nick Arbuckle. Quick throw underneath. Flags come up on 1st and 10. Sort through this. Flags on both sides.
Yeah, look to me.
Hors-jeu, Montréal numéro 44, 5 verges de pénalité, premier repris. Offside, Montreal number 44, 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Like more the guilty party.
Andre Proulx confirming my initial feeling that it looked like Mike Moore was a little quick off the mark on that one.
Manageable 1st and 5 here. Man coverage all over the place. And they'll go with a handoff. Bursting through the line, Devontae Williams. Little open field shimmy and shake. Cuts it back. Finally brought down by Tyrese Beverett. 31 gets into the open field that time and moving some bodies up front, but really just scheming this up, it looks like, in the running game to find some open spots for them.
Yeah, I mean, veteran offensive line assembled by Ottawa through the offseason. This is exactly why. Got to be able to take care of business at the line of scrimmage. And in that instance, they deliver.
That's Williams' longest rush of the evening, 15 yards. All the way down to the Montreal 50-yard line. Final play of the third quarter. Arbuckle pumps the quick screen, looks over the top, now checks it down. Behind the line of scrimmage, rushing to that far sideline. Big hit as Dequoy bounces back up onto his feet with Chris Aki alongside. And a single score deficit for the Montreal Alouettes at home as Ottawa goes for their second straight victory and their third win this year on the road. Fourth quarter coming up next on Labor Day weekend. And the passing yardage exploding, much of that coming out of the hand of Nick Arbuckle directly to number 23, Jalen Acklin, as he has been in control in this second half thus far, sending a message to the rest of the league that he is here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Acklin is back on track. We mentioned kind of 3 quiet games for him after 3 really big games, but Jalen Acklin, really the go-to guy in the receiving corps, regardless of who's playing quarterback for the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
Get set to get things going here in the fourth and final quarter. It is second down and 5 with the Ottawa offense in Montreal territory. Quick flip out to Devontae Williams to end off that third quarter. Acklin at the bottom of your screen. Looking out into the short side, and Mike Moore, just like one of the first plays of the ball game for Ottawa, gets the arms up and knocks that one down once again.
We'll take a look back to this play just before the end of the third quarter. That's our cameraman, Jason. You'll notice his camera is upside down.
This is where you put in.
So was Jason.
The old sound effects in post, right? Down goes Jason, but then up goes Jason. As the punt rolls into the end zone.
That is the second toughest job on the crew, next to being the analyst.
I thought you were going to give some love to Jason. Look at him, not even a scratch on you, Jason.
Shake it off. Camera's good, he's good.
Not even a scratch. Fighting through adversity as Trevor Harris will here in the fourth quarter. When these two teams did play earlier on this year, it was Montreal 40-33 overcoming, let me know if this sounds familiar, an 11-point deficit to win in Ottawa earlier this year. There have been multiple 11-point deficits throughout this evening as Jezrin Antwi will get the start on this drive. Gino Lewis lines up in the same way he did in the first half. That's the same play he caught his touchdown in the first half. This time, Ottawa sniffs it out. Says we won't have that happen again.
Yeah, they were ready that time. Anticipating what was coming when they saw the formation. Lewis motions down to that wing position. Second you see him start moving to his right, you know where he's going. Money Hunter shadows him to contain that and turns him back in to where he's got help.
Creates second down and 9. Trailing by 9. Throw to Reggie White in the open. It is complete across midfield, and there was a collision in the backfield as Tyson Philpott slow up onto his feet, and Lorenzo Malden, good to see him back on the field, but he's slow to get up as well as Reggie White wins this route and picks up a nice chunk over the middle.
As you see, Reggie White finds that soft spot between Ottawa defenders and settles in. Good pick up there.
As Tyson Philpott down, he'll get some attention. Tyson Philpott on the crossing route down at the bottom of the screen there, Dwayne, and unfortunate banging legs as Lorenzo Malden diving out.
Going to come the other way here. As he and Malden catch each other.
That is a big knee banging into the side of the thigh of Tyson Philpott. And so Philpott goes to the sideline, and the running game comes flying out, and Ottawa says they have the football. Walking out from the pile is Kenny Onyeka, holding the Wilson and heading the other way. What happened there on the inside run coming out of the injury timeout? Another turnover, 4 for the Alouettes.
Kenny Onyeka already credited in this game with a forced fumble. This time comes up with the fumble recovery. This one was popped away from Jeshron Andrews. Running back carrying that ball up a little high.
Love to give credit for the forced fumble, but it was a mess in there as Nate Bahar makes the catch along the sideline and gets escorted out of bounds by Durden and Sutton in the boundary. And Ottawa again making the most of the turnovers from the Alouettes thus far with another cheap possession to work with.
Yeah, back-to-back Carleton Ravens. Onyeka with the recovery. Bahar here with the reception to move into Montreal territory.
Bahar leads the Ottawa REDBLACKS, catching 78% of his targets on the year. We'll go with the inside handoff here on 1st and 10. Gain of 5 that time for Williams.
Devontae Williams, another guy seeming to gain confidence with every outing here for Ottawa, showing off his moves in the open field a little bit tonight.
The plan was to have Masoli and Powell, but it doesn't seem like a mistake that Williams and Arbuckle are starting the same games at this point. Working together, getting some chemistry, as Arbuckle will take possession here. Throws a fadeaway corner route to Darvin Adams. Did he get a foot down? There's a nod. They'll discuss. Darvin Adams makes the grab on 2nd and 5. It's a big first down for the REDBLACKS deep into Montreal territory.
And it looked like Darvin Adams, as this football was in the air, kind of adjusted a couple times. There was a stutter step as he thought maybe the ball was coming a little bit short, and then he almost stumbles. Then scrambles to work back to it and make that grab.
Arbuckle fade ball on the outside to Shaq Johnson, and that one was dropped in beautifully on the chopped off end zone, and it will fall incomplete. Most difficult thing to throw a fade or a corner with those back corners. As Darvin Adams finding a way as the veteran, the smack talker in this receiving core to lunge and bring this one in.
Between his pinkies.
Whew. For 2nd down and 10. Can still get a first down here as the snap will come out from the 14-yard line. Arbuckle deep drop. Now he has to climb the pocket. Thought about pumping. Now he'll run. And he picks up. It's going to be about 7 yards. Just outside the 5-yard line. Spotted around the 6 or 7.
And they'll again settle for 3 points after the turnover, or at least an attempt at 3 points here.
And if Montreal finds a way back into this game, I think the story of this one might be how many turnovers turned into 3 with 20 and 30-yard field goals from the REDBLACKS. Lewis Ward perfect on the evening. 15, 19, 32. They've all been chippies. And he's got another one lined up from 15. 4 for 4. Lead extends once again. 12 points is the difference as Darvin Adams, emotional leader of the receiving corps in Ottawa, the veteran free agent signing, beating Wesley Sutton and just finding a way to keep it off the turf. And the Rough Riders at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, only on TSN. Should be a Great matchup as Trevor Harris finds Reggie White here on first down and 10. We'll pick up about 6 yards on the grab, but Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, I'm sure that'll be a quiet affair. There'll be no crowd noise involved in that one in either of the next 2 weeks. Plenty of emotion on both sides.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
No doubt.
Labor Day weekend. Things start heating up.
Actually asked Danny Machocha what Labor Day weekend means to him this week, and his response was people care more. You can feel it in the building. Everybody knows it's go time. Start playing your best football or don't see the cost. As the handoff goes to Fletcher, bouncing off tacklers, and after the fumble by Jesrin Antwi, Montreal gets the football back. Decides that the ground game is how they want to attack. Fletcher turns it into a nice game.
And, you know, we've mentioned it a couple of times tonight. I don't know if people noticed it when we put up those third quarter stats, but Montreal has done a terrific job running the football here tonight.
Yeah, we talked a bunch about Jalen Acklin and having those 159 receiving yards, but Montreal feels very much like a William Stanback kind of game, just churning away and trying to use the ground attack. And certainly that was a shock to the system, Dwayne, when Stanback went down and Jesrin Antwi stepped in. He's done a great job throughout the year. They make the move for Fletcher, but it's been an evolution to refine what has been one of the CFL's better rushing attacks.
Yes, there you see William Stanback on the sideline. He continues his recovery. Big numbers for him, almost 1,200 yards in a 14-game season in 2021.
Actually goes against the memory, even though you know it's true. I'm prepping for this game, and I look down and I see William Stanback, 3 carries, 11 yards, no touchdowns. You think, how is that possible? And you just go back to that first quarter in Calgary. Man, he barely touched the football before that injury. It's just one of the very best in the Canadian Football League. And you hate to see it as another one of the best in the CFL, struggling through the night with family in attendance. Lorenzo Malden is battling to stay on the football field. He was dealing with the shoulder earlier. Let's see what we get a look at here, Dwayne. And again,
yeah, collision. It was that left shoulder that he was struggling with.
Living off adrenaline to the end of the play, but as soon as the whistle goes.
Yeah, you see that left arm hanging at his side. Phenomenal breakout year for Lozo.
Another one that I was actually thinking about when we were doing Hamilton-Toronto is Mike Benavides. Pats Malden on the head, but as a backup defensive end, an American playing in Hamilton, Lorenzo Malden comes here, turns into a star. All those sacks. Malik Carney is doing some things out there in Hamilton that you'll see on Labor Day Monday against the Toronto Argonauts. Where you go, could he be the next one that people don't really know about playing that spot? Is Trevor Harris Styes in the pocket, tried to dance his way forward. And Cleon Lang met right there alongside Bryce Carter. Speaking of defensive ends you might not know a lot about, Bryce Carter making a play in the backfield.
Yeah, Carter getting an opportunity here in recent weeks.
His second sack of the season, if he gets full credit for it. Go to James Madison.
We'll take a look here as Carter lines up inside. Kind of an exchange with Davon Coleman, who goes to the edge. You get a little bit quicker guy on the inside, maybe a bit more of a physical mismatch from many guards.
Ryan Davis picks it up in the end zone and gets wrapped up on another booming punt by Joseph Zima. As they sort their way through it, and Bryce Carter gets a chance to celebrate his star turn north of the border. Andy Ambrosi in attendance here in Montreal to kick off OK Tire Labor Day weekend. As, of course, some news this week on the potential ownership change in the near future of the Montreal Alouettes organization. Some great reporting by Dave Naylor at halftime tonight. And send you to tsn.ca to get his full breakdown of the situation moving forward. Is on the field, the Alouettes trying to get a stop, and it's the Red Blacks with a gashing throw on 1st and 10, and you highlighted him at the start of the game, Dwayne, there's Ryan Davis getting involved in the offense here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and they do a nice job here, sort of get that run look right here, hold the linebackers down, which creates a little bit of room for Ryan Davis to slip in behind for that quick hitter.
Getting word from the sidelines of Matthew Shinetti that Lorenzo Malden is done for the remainder of the evening at defensive end. So the CFL Sackmaster will not play the rest of this game in week 13. Arbuckle flings it to the sidelines. Darvin Adams makes a man miss, stutter steps, and then rolls out of bounds. And that did not look smooth for Darvin Adams, and immediately he needs attention.
Yeah, it was tough to see exactly what was going on with his feet and legs there, but looked like a bit of a stumble. You see Darvin Adams is the man motioning out here from that number 3 receiver spot. Nobody following. He's just going to sit down along the sideline. We'll keep an eye here. It looked like a non-contact situation. Yeah, kind of a, hopefully nothing more serious than what looked like a rollover of the left ankle.
Best hope might be a hyperextended left knee that feels a little off as he was trying to make a move. This week, Avery Williams was talking about the fact that when Sean Burke decided to get a look at Lorenzo Malden on the sidelines, but when Sean Burke decided, listen, everybody who's already going to have success with this team, you're in this room right now. It was Darvin Adams that took the practice field the next day and basically took that message and brought it to life for the entire offense, the entire roster, constantly talking and getting guys fired up, challenging people, making life difficult to get guys ready for the game intensity. So not just an important player on game day, but a big part of the Red Blacks roster. And we'll see whether or not he comes back in the game. As on 1st and 10, we'll get a look at Caleb Evans checking into the ball game here. A little quarterback run package perhaps, and they run it right into the teeth of that Montreal defense. But nice change of pace here as we enter the final half of the fourth quarter and trying to hold on to the 11-point lead as Paul LaPolice goes to the call sheet.
As Caleb Evans takes on the role of Chris Strevler in a Paul LaPolice offense.
Which, by the way, Chris Strevler, all the success in the preseason for the New York Jets. And I said this week to Lapo, hey, did you see what happened there with Strevler? He goes, I talked to him yesterday. I said, did you call to see if he was available? Or did you just call to say congrats? I said, no, I knew he was going back to the Jets. We're very happy with Caleb and Nick right here. As Evans will dig in on 2nd and 1, short yardage. And can't be brought down until churning the legs for a gain of 4. We'll see whether or not he stays on the field here as Arbuckle standing ready and waiting. And LaPolice will keep number 5 on the field.
Continuing to go with that changeup as you get a look. The Red Blacks general manager, Sean Burke. It's been a busy first year on the job. Very active in free agency.
Adams went to the sideline and Evans hands it off inside, and now we'll see a couple of receivers come trotting off the sidelines with Nick Arbuckle. So Evans comes in for 3 plays. LaPolice gets his fix and then goes back to the base package here as Arbuckle has crossed the 300-yard mark here tonight, looking for his 2nd straight victory as starting quarterback of the Red Blacks.
Yeah, nice call at that stage in the game. You know, it was the single point kind of changed the complexion a little bit, as it meant Montreal no longer needed 2 touchdowns.
Williams gets the handoff on a draw, crosses the 20-yard line, gets dragged down. But on 2nd and 7, that's a little fun play calling from LaPolice, isn't it? Listen, we'll take our run package out. Let's bring in the quarterback and the receivers. Just kidding.
Yeah, and this is it. Like I was going to say, I like the decision as you see Evans coming back into the game now, but to go with the Evans package at this time, come back with a run play there with the Arbuckle group in. Again, so the single point on the kick means Montreal no longer needs 2 touchdowns. It's a touchdown and a field goal. Maybe a little more urgency for Ottawa to get some time off the clock. And so they alter their play calling, alter the package they're using to do just that, drain the clock a little bit.
Go inside handoff here with a stacked line is bursting through the line of scrimmage. It was Devontae Williams. Maurice Beverett got a nice pop in on it, but not until another sizable gain on first down. He leaves second and short, and that offensive line, we haven't talked much about him throughout the night, but Randy Richards, Hunter Stewart, Darius Sirocco, Jacob Ruby, and Dino Boyd at right tackle.
Timer, please reset
Trying
the
to
game
churn
clock
their
to
way
3 minutes.
towards another victory for the Red Blacks in the chase in the East Division. 3 minutes.
Have fun. We could be selling cars right now. We're talking about getting some mini donuts in the fourth quarter, Coach.
What's that?
We're talking about getting some mini donuts in the fourth quarter.
What?
We're going to order some mini donuts in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
Sounds like Dwayne Ford singing up in the booth at the Argos games. Don't miss next week's CFL Wired episode, bringing you exclusive access to the latest CFL highlights. Catch it Wednesday at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, only on TSN as the Ottawa Redblacks. Caleb Evans in the ball game on 2nd and 3. Churn some clock and get into the end zone. They fake the pitch, cut it back, trying to run right between the tackles. Nate Bahar trying to push the pile with Hunter Stewart and Sirocco. And it will be 1st and goal for the Red Blacks with a fresh set of downs and 2:36 remaining in the fourth.
You know, back in the old days, this play would have been called toss-give, with the give coming to the fullback.
A bygone era.
A bygone era indeed. But yeah, fake the toss, run it up inside. Caleb Evans picking up the first down.
And eliminate the need to give it to the fullback. Add to the numbers game, extra blocker up in front. As Evans gets a look at another heavy set. This time he'll keep it. Trying to bounce around the left-hand side. Runs into 3 Alouettes who will turn him around, but another gain. Closer and closer to the end zone. And last week, Paul Hepelice said, listen, we got down to the 1. Darvin fell down. We had to go wedge, short yardage. Then I got Nate Bahar down there inside the 1. He fell down. We had to go wedge. I said, Paul, as somebody who calls the games, you don't have to go wedge. He said, listen, the first time that we go 0 for 3 from the 2-yard line, I'm probably not the head coach anymore of the Ottawa Redblacks. So I'm going wedge once we get down there. So we'll see how creative he is here.
Yeah, sticking with conventional wisdom, that part of the field.
Caleb Evans does remain in the ball game. As Nick Arbuckle, on a night where he's crossed 300 yards and done a lot of great work to Jalen Acklin, who splits out to the bottom of your screen, watches from the sideline as number 5, who was the starter for Ottawa, goes to that wedge, drives the legs, leans forward, touchdown Redblacks. Extending the lead with 2 minutes remaining, and Ottawa staring down a 2nd straight road victory in a year in which they only have 2 wins thus far on the season.
You get a great look here, not just at the work of the line, but at the second effort by Caleb Evans, a guy whose offseason was about getting bigger and stronger for moments like this, and it pays off. The touchdown to extend the lead for the visiting Ottawa Redblacks. Caleb Evans playing the role of Jordan Romano, the closer.
Lewis Ward looks to tack on the extra point. Make this 15-point advantage for the roadside. Since Ottawa's return to the CFL in 2014, they're the only franchise that has a better record on the road than at home. And looking to add to that tonight with the Caleb Evans plunge.
Yeah, stopped up initially, but watch the legs keep driving as he fights his way through. Fitting after his performance in that series that Evans would be the man to score that touchdown.
9 touchdowns now on the season as Arbuckle talks it over with quarterback coach Will Arndt, former Red Blacks quarterback himself not that long ago. Pretty amazing, too, to think Caleb Evans and Dominique Davis have the same number of rushing touchdowns now on the season, 9 each. As Adams seems to be in good spirits down there on the sideline. Good to see after he had to leave the game with a lower body injury. And Montreal has a chance to battle back into this one. You never say never, but likely have to get something big here from Chandler Worthy standing back to return this kickoff.
Ottawa, with the job they did on that last drive of winding down the clock, not just marching down the field, but eating up the clock in the process, has made this uphill climb that much steeper for Montreal.
5 minutes, 19 seconds on that touchdown drive, punctuated by Caleb Evans is the big hit on special teams. Worthy made it out to about the 40-yard line before Dan Bassambombo went in Laval alongside Shaden Phillip. And the Alberta Golden Bears, all the Canadians down there ripping around on special teams.
This is why you love to have those linebacker bodies playing on teams. Bassambombo throwing his body around. Selected by Ottawa with a territorial selection at the end of the second round.
Harris over the top, over the middle, hauled in by Gino Lewis. Crosses midfield, a nice window throw that time from 7 to 87.
Well, no choice but to get yards in chunks here if you're the Montreal Alouettes. Mission accomplished on that first play of the drive.
Maximum protection. Still Harris has to roll to his right. Leon Lang in pursuit. No Lorenzo Malding in the ball game. And that one was trying to be thrown away by Trevor Harris. And they'll say incomplete, but very close down that sideline. Was it Money Hunter in front of the bench that was trying to haul in his first interception since week 4?
Money Hunter, a guy whose participation has been limited by injury this year, but nonetheless remains among the league leaders in interceptions.
Harris on 2nd and 10. Zone all over the place. He'll check it down underneath. Keon Julian Grant. It's stood up by Abdul Kana, but bounces off 2 tackles. Great effort by the St. FX grab that time. Gets out of bounds with a first down.
Keon Julian Grant, one of a number of players to come through a great high school program at St. Michael's College in Toronto. You'll see Kenna kind of figures his teammate has Julian Grant somewhat wrapped up. He can just come in with the big shot, but you get a sense of how big and strong the Canadian receiver is.
Julian Grant lines up next to Gino Lewis to the left of Harris. He'll throw it over the top, and there's a flag down. This will be roughing the passer as it was a shot below the knees. Rolling in was Cleon Lang. He doesn't like the call one bit.
Yeah, Lang is contending that he was thrown in or blocked in to that position by a Montreal lineman.
Roughing the passer, Ottawa number 90. Conduite antisportive, Ottawa numéro 90. Pénalité de mauvaise conduite.
Yeah, dangerous position, regardless of intent. Dangerous position for Trevor Harris. You're going to see Cleon Lang. Again, it's that exchange with the tackle lining up on the outside on the rush here. And yeah, I mean, you can see Landon Rice kind of flung him. That's really the reason Lang ends up on the ground.
So Montreal will check at the line of scrimmage here with 5 receivers out and available for Trevor Harris. Looks over the middle, fires it into the end zone, and it's the first touchdown strike to TD Jake in 2022. Maybe a sigh of relief right there for the man that's been known as second down conversion, Jake. Just Jake, as you said a couple weeks ago.
It's just not as catchy without the touchdown.
A quick drive this time and a beautiful strike from Harris to Winicky.
Yeah, it looks like they've done that before.
Makes you wonder, you know, you go through the entire game with the struggles and the turnovers and Harris getting intercepted a couple of times and goes ahead in the fourth quarter here, just like against Hamilton a couple of weeks ago, and just goes 1, 2, 3, 4 down the field, points.
Yeah, and it's, you know, so often a defense gets into that mode of not wanting to give up a play that goes over their heads, basically, in terms of that being the defining characteristic of what you're defending. So it's like you'll give up 10, 15, 20-yard plays in front of you, and it only takes a few of those to make your way down the field. So we get a look here that Jake Winicky lines up as the number 3 receiver, working towards the post, gets inside position on the defender. Harris works that one around the goalposts.
Against the former Alouette, Patrick Levels in coverage. 5 plays, 69 yards in just 39 seconds. So despite the big special teams hit from Dan Bassambombo on Chandler Worthy, 5 plays later, it's into the end zone and cuts down the deficit with 1:21 remaining. Byron Archambault talks things through with his special teams unit. Former Montreal Caravan linebacker himself. 4 of the 6 Canadians dressed tonight on defense for Montreal played for the Caravan. As Bob Dice will dial it up against the significantly fresher-faced, shall we say, special teams coordinator. Bit of a different matchup, but both of them doing great jobs with their units. The onside kick, low dribbling boot, rolls into the legs. That time of Kenny Onyeka, and he got a couple of kick returns last week, did he not?
Yeah, that's a
trying to add to the skills.
Padding his stats.
He's going to go into the offseason contract negotiations and say, listen, I'm a kick returner.
Yeah, the more you can do.
That's what I am.
The more you can do.
Hey, great ball on there.
Yeah, Kenny Onyeka from a great football family. Keep them all straight. Brother of Godfrey, cousin of Kosi.
Nakas?
And cousin of Nakas as well, recently retired, yeah.
Great player in his own time at Laurier and in the CFL. The inside run here on first down will be a gain of 3. And Montreal trying to dig and strip that football out any way that they possibly can. And Paul LaPolice on 2nd and 7 with the remaining schedule. 7 of 8 left against the East, and that's kind of the motivation going into this week, as it will be for the remainder of the season, is, listen, things got off to a real slow start in the nation's capital this year. Everything in the East Division is still very much up for grabs as Devontae Williams lunging his way forward just shy of the 30-yard line. It won't be the first down yardage needed. See if the field goal unit makes their way on the field and how LaPolice wants to approach this and what has become an 11-point game once again.
Yeah, regardless, it will be using the clock as much as they can.
Byron Archambault wasn't real happy that time. The officials whistled in the play and then blew it dead as the field goal unit came off the sideline. But Lewis Ward was 4 for 4 on the night. And this will be his deepest attempt, coming from 38 yards away. Richard Leone is the holder. LP Barassa, the long snapper. Make it 5 for 5. And that sets a new season high for makes in a single contest for Lewis Ward, who had the pressure on him tonight. Had dress from Jose Maltos, as Ottawa will make their way into the win column here with just 25 seconds remaining and a 14-point advantage. Man, Hamilton, they sure need Labor Day Monday right now at home. Up against it with quarterback adversity, as you'll have that game alongside Rod Smith on Monday. Looking forward to listening to you guys call that one, because there's some adversity right now in the Hammer.
Yeah, having their struggles, and you know, you've got Ottawa at 3-8, but you know, it is not tongue-in-cheek when I say Ottawa is suddenly the hottest team in the East.
And going into this year, when it was supposed to be Jeremiah Masoli, it was supposed to be William Powell. It was, I mean, you went through what they originally crafted in free agency, and we all said, don't count out Ottawa from being the turnaround story of the year. They have reconstructed their roster with Sean Burke, and it looks a lot different, but here we are. Everybody always says, hey, season begins Labor Day. If the season's beginning, they're in the conversation.
They're not that far out.
They're finding ways. As Montreal gets one more return here. Worthy fearlessly running right into the teeth of that special teams coverage unit after getting whacked on the last one by Bassam Bombo. Trevor Harris takes to the field. Finished with a real high completion percentage, 20 of 26, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and of course the fumble that was recovered by Devon Coleman that went to the house.
Yeah, it was the back-to-back turnovers that I think were really a turning point in this football game.
Deep drop for Harris. Steps up against the pressure. Tries to complete it underneath the Winicky, who just had the touchdown, and it will fall incomplete as Ottawa 14 points off of turnovers as they stare down a 14-point deficit for the Alouettes. That is your difference in week 13 between these two teams who will play again at times towards the back end of the season.
Little time for autographs over there for Nick Arbuckle.
Don't give away the helmet, Nick. There you go. Mayala adds to his total on the evening. Knifes towards midfield, but it is great to see Nick Arbuckle having some success. Back-to-back wins now as the Red Blacks starting quarterback. And amazing to think coming into tonight, he had 7 wins, but they come for 3 different teams. Calgary in his time there, 2019. Toronto won a game against Winnipeg back in 2021 before being traded to Edmonton, and then off to Ottawa. Wins last week and wins here once again tonight as Frankie Griffin puts his stamp on the end of week 13. The Ottawa REDBLACKS, winners once again. They improved their record to 3-8 on the season. Both of their wins coming on the road coming into this one, and they add to the total yet again. A great kickoff to OK Tire Labor Day weekend. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan coming up on Sunday, and of course the classics, Edmonton, Calgary, Hamilton, Toronto for you on the CFL on TSN on Monday. Jalen Ackland sets a new career high in receiving yardage. Nick